Yeah, so appreciate everybody coming out today. We're always appreciative of the support. Year two of the program here, trying to build it. Can't do it without you guys. We appreciate you. Really appreciate you guys telling our individual players' stories. Got a lot of great stories on this year's team. We look forward to starting these things, trying to get with you guys every week, and beginning next week with the regular availability. We'll have our players out here for you guys to spend time with. 42 days away from the season opener. We started official practice yesterday. We're a work in progress. A lot of internal optimism here because of our roster, the combination of returning players that have been in our culture. Year one's always a challenge, especially proud of last year's team. We'll always be appreciative of those guys, but certainly this year we probably a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of our culture. That's good. And the balance between returners, 5 guys that played for us, and an NCAA tournament team last year, 2 transfers that both played and won in the NCAA tournament, and then 4 high-level freshmen that we think a few of those guys might contribute earlier in their careers. So a lot of things going on with the program. 42 days away from that opener against UTEP, be the first regular season game in the Moody Center. Just working hard, continuing to build a relationship with our students. I thought we probably had the best improvement in student attendance and atmosphere in all college basketball last year, in my opinion. This year we look to take the next step with the great advantage of having the Moody Center. The best seats in the arena will be the student sections. We've been working hard at that. We have an event tonight in East Austin. Appreciate you guys pubbing if we have time. Doors open at 6 o'clock. It's at the Scoot Inn. I'm looking forward to going to the Scoot Inn. Never been to the Scoot Inn, but I'm a big fan of the east side where the Scoot Inn is, but 6 o'clock the doors will open. Student section is going to be called the Corral. We're excited about that, really the vision of Charles Sital and Matthew McConaughey. We look forward to meeting a lot of the students tonight and explaining to them what the Corral is going to entail. All that kind of kicks off tonight. Our team will be over there at 7 o'clock too to spend time with the students. Obviously today's announcement of the charity exhibition game with Arkansas. Number one, we appreciate Arkansas. A lot of respect for Coach Muss, the program that he's built at Arkansas in a short amount of time, the consistency that those guys are showing right now. We played his team at Nevada. We played his team at Arkansas in the NCAA tournament. So we wanted to get a high-quality opponent. The NCAA has made a rule that makes sense. A lot of times the NCAA does things that doesn't make sense, but this one does make sense. So besides the closed door or the exhibitions against non-D1s, like we enjoyed playing Coach Wacker's team last year, they've given us a little bit of a window here to play a Division I opponent in front of fans. So we're proud that the game's tied into 2 local charities that we really are proud to be associated with them. Both support youth education, both of them support helping youth in need. So all proceeds other than the cost of the game will go to those 2 charities, and we're proud to be associated, especially since they're local, Austin, capital city type things. Again, thank you to Coach Muss in Arkansas for playing the game. It's a non-football weekend for us, right? I think the football team plays on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, then we'll play Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock in the Moody. Season ticket holders are going to get first crack at the tickets, so I encourage them to do that and come to the game. Obviously the first basketball event in the Moody Center, but not the first regular season game. That'll be UTEP. Any questions, guys?
That first game against UTEP, you've been asked about it before, and you will get asked about it, but that relationship with Coach Golding. I was in Abilene after you guys played at ACU and Tech, and he said Coach Peter and I agreed to never play each other again. Just how has that kind of evolved as you guys have moved to some new schools?
Yeah, I definitely don't enjoy or prefer playing against friends, playing against former players, former coaches, but when you coach as long as I have, and Joe's getting up there as well, and you strive to play great competition, it's going to happen. It's not something we look forward to on a personal level, but it's a good basketball game, and it makes sense for the state of Texas. UTEP, a historic program. Them and Baylor, the only 2 that have ever won the national championship. 3 teams, including 1 team that I was fortunate enough to coach, played in that national championship game. So we're bringing in a quality opponent. Joe had a great first year at UTEP, postseason team, won a bunch of conference games, so I know he's excited about his second-year team. simply stated, we'll have to play really well on opening night to defend our home court. So we're proud to bring a quality in-state NCAA tournament type team and UTEP in for opening day. In terms of me and Joe's relationship, it's real. I don't know if I have a better friend in life and in basketball than Joe Golding. He's a guy that we always pull for. Look forward to the competition.
Chris, I don't think we talked to you since the staff was finalized and just some guys moving on and moving some things around. What was that process like for you in finalizing who's going to be on the bench and support roles and all that stuff with the staff?
Well, first of all, we're just really appreciative of all the guys that were on last year's staff that helped us build our culture, get to the NCAA tournament, win a game. And, when you have a successful program like we do and you win, great things happen for people within the organization. So we had several staff movers move on to next opportunities. We're thankful for everything they did in our organization, and we'll pull for them in the future. In terms of the new staff this year, we've made some great additions. Really proud of the experience that we got, and we base all hires as pretty simple guys, like who's the best fit for our players. It's all about our players. And I think this year we've added some younger guys in the program that I think bring that kind of energy that we always need, and we've added some veterans in the program. Most recently with Coach McClain and Bob's elevation. I mean, we like our staff. I think the ability of a staff is a lot like a team. It's not just about, when you build a team, it's not just about adding the best players. It's adding the best players that can play together. Coaching staffs are no different. There's a lot of talent out there. Obviously, people want to work at the University of Texas, but it's not just about getting the talent. It's about getting the pieces that fit together. So starting with RT, our associate head coach, to our assistants, to our support staff, all the way down to our graduate assistants this year, we feel really good about our staff. I'm thankful and appreciative of those guys, and I'm really excited for our players because they're the ones that will most benefit.
When you've got a situation, Chris, like Bob going from the special assistant role to the bench, is there an in-depth conversation that needs to happen, or is it pretty, I don't know, self-explanatory is the right word? Is it a pretty seamless transition for him?
Oh, that specific one, Bob had been an assistant coach at Texas Tech. When we came to Texas, we all, accepted roles that we thought could get the organization going quickly. Obviously, Chris Ogden's position's maybe the greatest example of all the things that Augie is doing from a managing position, all areas of the program. Really appreciative of him coming here. Bob's no different. So Bob came off the floor and rode last year to help us get it started. And, the timing was right for him to get back on the floor.
Chris, is there any non-basketball related team activity that you and guys did over the summer, the off season, that is worth sharing?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Our culture is important to us. First thing you got to do is build it, and you got to defend it and execute it every day. So this summer we had a lot of fun. We really did, and we don't apologize for that. We have a process that we believe in. I don't think anybody, I know no one works harder than us in college basketball. It's not arrogance, it's just the truth. We don't think we're better than anybody else, but there's some people out there that probably work as hard as us, but nobody works harder. And I think a part of that is also the idea of balance, to be at your best at whatever you're striving to do. And certainly with our players is to be a student athlete, NBA hopefuls. As coaches, we're trying to win the national championship. To be your best at whatever your craft is, you also have to have some balance. We don't apologize for that. And so in our culture, we try to have more fun than anybody in college basketball. So, we're always doing things. We enjoy being in Austin, Texas, too, whether it's swimming in the lakes or rivers or getting outside in one of the beautiful parks where it's going to see live music, just all the things that this city brings to the table. Obviously, the restaurants, just everything about this city we enjoy. Almost to a calculated point where each week we're trying to do something in Austin, Texas. Every team kind of has a trend. Right now the pool table is pretty hot. Later on in the year, the ping pong table will get hot. Connect Four has made a huge comeback. I didn't even think that game existed anymore. I think that was 1970s and 80s, but that's made a comeback. But yeah, there's a lot of things in our program that are going on. We celebrate birthdays around here with passion. But a lot of good things. I think one specific thing is we currently have the battle for the title going on. We got two student managers that are trying to be head manager on this year's team, and both of them are very worthy. Instead of flipping a coin on that, we believe in competition around here. Everything's about competing in our culture. So those two guys are doing what we call the battle for the title. So it's a best of 7. The other night we did a swimming We did a karaoke, and I forget what else we've done. We do everything. A lot like the NBA, it normally goes to Game 7, if that makes sense.
With the Spurs coming to Austin to play a couple games, have there been talks about, obviously it's kind of toward the end of your season, but are there talks of any sort of collaboration in that regard?
I've been on a few of those. I'm not in the inner skull of those conversations, but I'll say this, me personally, I can only speak for myself. I totally support that. I love the relationship between the Spurs and the Longhorns. Obviously, it's a brand that you're proud to be a part of. They do things right, whether it be Coach Pop out there or R.C. Buford, who's a legend, not only in the NBA, but really in this part of the state and everything the Spurs have done for basketball. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think there's a couple parallels probably between the fan bases, but in a lot of ways it's a separate fan base. And I think anything the Spurs can do to help college basketball in Austin, we're appreciative. Anything that we can do in a small way to help them with their brand and NBA basketball, we look forward to that. So the Moody Center is an awesome venue. I've never been in anything quite like it or better. So we benefit from all the live music around here, and if the Spurs play some home games in the Moody, I'm all for it.
Last year, you had Avery basically as the only guy who knew how you operated, who was a player. This year you got Marcus, you got Brock. Even with the new guys that you've brought in, how much does it help to have Marcus in his second year and Brock in his second year, helping guys like, who could guard anybody you brought in?
Yeah, it helps a lot. It's hard to put a measurable on it, but that's what makes winning early when you build something very difficult. And we've accomplished some great things over the years. Our Little Rock team, first-year team, was just special. One of the best teams in college basketball. We've come close at some other places before. And again, I would argue that our team here last year was a legitimate top 25 team from the first game to the NCAA tournament. We were a basket away from getting to the second weekend. I was really proud of last year's team. I can't say that enough. I'm appreciative of everybody that was a part of last year. But here today, as we sit here 42 days away from the opener, we feel a lot better. We have a culture. We're not trying to install everything. We're trying to defend it and execute it. And it starts with those 5 returning players that all played in our rotation last year, that all played and won in the NCAA tournament. 3 of the 5 were all conference players in the Big 12. It's great to have Dylan Asu back healthy. Brock's had as good a off season as I've ever seen a player have, and I've seen some great off seasons. It's 2 people like Cole and Gavin too that were in the program last year. It's their second year, but first year to get on the court. So it's so valuable. I don't know how to put a measurable amount on it, but I can just tell you, it's everything. It's what makes it's so difficult to win year one. Not that it's going to be easy year 2, but at least we have our culture. We spend a lot more time on basketball right now than we do on off the court stuff.
Can you tell us about Bari Rice? I talked to a few players, and whenever I asked them who was standing out in camp, they all said Bari Rice. So what do you think he brings to the team?
Yeah, Jabari's he's a talented player. There's so many stories in college basketball, and they can't all be told day one. But I think the best stories and the best players and the best people in our sport, eventually they demand that their story is told. And I'll predict to you guys that we'll be talking a lot about Rice this year. He's a great basketball player. For us in recruiting, we love to recruit players from great coaches. Certainly in high school, we love to get a great high school coach. What team did he play for in the summer? Was his grassroots guy, a basketball guy? And certainly with Jabari, he played for Chris Jans at New Mexico State. Chris Jans, one of the best coaches in our game, head coach in the SEC now. So the benefit to getting Rice, knowing that he'd been coached at a high level for 4 years. He's also a guy that's got a story. You guys are continuing to get to know me. I do really well with guys that have chips on their shoulders. I do really well with guys that have stories. I do really well with guys that love basketball and don't have backup plans, and this is Rice. I don't know if one of you guys can break a heck of a story if you do the work, but wasn't highly recruited in high school, but took his team all the way to the state championship. Went to New Mexico State and sat out a year and literally turned into arguably their best all-around player. Has played and won championship games, has played and won in NCAA tournament games. He's a positionless guy. He can play about 3 or 4 different positions. He's a defensive player. He's a high IQ guy. He's obviously a smart guy. He already has his undergrad degree from Mexico State. He's working on post-grad work here. He's a guy I believe in. Sometimes I'm hesitant to talk about guys a lot until we get out here on the court and we see what happens. But with Rice, I confidently tell you he's going to have a great year. We're relying on him, and I think he'll answer the bell.
Chris, a story I'm working on is about Jake, the guy who does your shoes, your custom sneakers. And I just kind of was curious how you got linked with him, some of the ideas behind some of the designs that y'all have done over the last year, and then maybe a big picture of the connection between sneakers and your sport.
Yeah, I think specifically with Jake, I don't want to get this inaccurate, but I know one of the ways that connected us was with some of our basketball friends, Brett, Justin, Diego, and Kevin, and those guys connected that. And then obviously Rob does a great job here with all things equipment at Texas. Rob's the GOAT around here. I think he's been here since Daryl Royal, I think. How old is Rob? Yeah. Good to have you back, Scotty, man.
Thanks, appreciate it. Keep going.
Nice haircut.
Keep going.
Okay. No, absolutely. The sneaker game's awesome, right? It's kind of cool to see it come back of mine. I don't know if I don't know if the sneaker game continued, but I was just too out of the loop to see it, or I don't know if it's coming back, period. But certainly in my day, you waited for those Jordans to get to the store, and you stood in line, and you got them, and you saved your money all summer. And now just to see the whole swag come back, not only in the players' world, but also in our coaching world too. Speaking of our exhibition game against Arkansas, I think Muss is a sneakerhead too. So it's been awesome. One of the benefits of living here in the capital city and being close to Dallas and San Antonio and Austin being the global city it is, that we have access to all sorts of things. So we don't have to, drive 300 miles to get our shoe needs. It's right down the road. But it's cool. We have a lot of surprises in store this year. I'd like to see that reach into the student body too, and we're in talks of communication. It's hit the players, it's starting to hit us coaches, but I'd love to see a Corral student section one day in the Moody where we're representing, the best Nike swag as well.
Chris, as long as the charity game is an option, do you want to structure your preseason like that where you keep one close scrimmage and you can play a high major opponent in that exhibition?
Yeah, I think every season is different, and every season each team has different needs. Last year we were really excited about uniting the family with Coach Wacker. Of course, this year we unite the family with Coach Black's Classic. Last year was Coach Lemons' Classic. So we are committed to doing that. That was not a koozie or a fake T-shirt. That was real. You're going to continue to see us unite the family in so many ways every chance we get. But I think from a competition standpoint this year, to be able to play a nationally ranked, one of the best teams in college basketball, Arkansas, was just something we couldn't pass up. Also, the first year in the Moody Center, I think the ability to get in there on game night and work the kinks out, let's make sure the music's working, let's make sure everybody knows how to get in the doors, and let's make sure the score clock works and all that stuff. And again, we're appreciative of Arkansas agreeing to play the game. We look forward to returning the favor in whatever way we can to those guys in the future.
Chris,
Got time for two last ones. Go ahead, Tyler.
what was the biggest thing you learned from year one now that you've had a summer to reflect and maybe look ahead to this new season? What's the one thing maybe that you can pinpoint that you learned in charge?
Well, I think coaching in basketball, it's a lifelong learning. So you're learning stuff every day. As today as we go from practice 1 to practice 2, we're trying to learn as much as we can in between and execute that growth. So all sorts of things to learn. I think a lot of things coming back to Texas all these years later. I don't know if it was learning, but just remembering how great this fan base is. The crowd increase that we had at the Irwin Center and the strides that we took. We still have a long ways to go. We all know that, but there's no denying the first step we took. And so I think that was a great reminder, not necessarily learning, but understanding that we're playing for one of the most passionate, best fan bases in all of sports. Not just talking about college basketball. I'm talking about, the pride and the expectations to coach and play at a place like Texas. Another thing that I don't know if learned, but again, kind of reminded, is just the excellence around here. It's like, 18 sports at Texas won the is it Sears Cup or Learfield?
Learfield Directors Cup.
Why do I say Sears?
That's what it used to be called.
Yep. Shout out to Sears.
I don't know if they can hear you.
In Irving, when I grew up, Sears is where the Ticketmaster was, and we used to camp out in the parking lot of Irving Mall to get tickets. I stood in line for 2 days to get Motley Crue tickets. Shout out to Sears. Sears also had the dragon. I wasn't a real, polo guy back in the day. I was more of a dragon guy. Sears had the dragon. You know what I'm talking about? Yep, shout out to Sears. ADD kicked in. What were we talking about?
Directors go.
Let me just follow up with this. KD was back working out. What was that like for you and the players?
Yeah, back to one thing I learned to remember, though, is just the excellence. 18 sports, 9 played for the national championship last year. You finished 4th around here. They don't even invite you to the barbecue. So it's just the expectations of being here. I love that. I wouldn't want it any different. I love expectations. I love being around elite people. And so, we benefit from how well soccer's playing right now and volleyball's playing right now and what Coach Sark is building right now, which is real. And so I really like that part about being at Texas. What was the second question?
KD being back and impacting you, the players.
Yeah, it's awesome. Been fortunate to coach a lot of great places where you have a lot of returning players come back. KD, in my opinion, is the best player on the planet. No disrespect to the other guys that I love and look up to. But what I would tell you about KD is his relationship with Texas basketball is real. It's not fluff. It's not like the celebrity comes back, signs a couple of things. I mean, it was real. He invested so much time in his week here. He went above and beyond. It was almost like humbling. It was like, KD, enough, man. We need to get you out the side door. But he spent real time with our players. He spent real time with our staff. There was nothing fluff about it. Learned so many lessons just observing him and being around him, and the quality time that we had last week, culminating in the night where he got in the Hall of Fame. It was just awesome. We had everybody in our organization there. They wouldn't let us in on the first couple rows, but we worked our way back to row 50, and we were glad to be there. But yeah, just a shout out to KD. Just obviously, you see the greatest player in school history come back, and hey, what was he? I mean, he was here, man. He was really here. He spent time in our locker room. He was hanging out at practice. He was getting shots up. He was checking in with us. It was just awesome. So appreciative of him.
Chris, I know adding Tyrese, I know you haven't played a game yet. You've only done the summer stuff, but how's that dynamic between he and Marcus? And I forgot how you phrased it this offseason, but maybe having a guy that can take some stuff off of Marcus's plate and have Marcus maybe more focused instead of asking him to do as much as you did last year.
Yeah, it's been great. I give both guys a lot of credit. Both guys have been great leaders early on, but both guys have also kind of followed a little bit too. In my opinion, to have leadership, you have to have followers. The best leaders know when to follow. But those two guys have a special relationship. It started in recruiting. Marcus Carr was one of the recruiters that recruited Tyrese to come here. That relationship, I'll let those guys speak to you guys about that when you have access to them soon. But I think on the basketball court, it's a work in progress. In my opinion, to win a national championship, you have to have multiple playmakers on the floor. I think Tyrese gives Marcus a chance to be the best version of himself. I think Marcus and others give Tyrese a chance to be the best version of himself. So, but both guys are trying really hard at it. Just like all relationships, it just doesn't happen naturally. Relationships happen naturally. I disagree. You got to work at relationships for them to be successful, especially at our level in the competition we have to compete against. But both guys, their heads are in the right places, their hearts are in the right places. They're doing a great job in our program right now as both leaders.
Got time for one last one?
What's an area where, I know it's day 2, but you feel pretty confident will be something your team does well, and what's an area where maybe the next 2-3 weeks you really want to see them make progress on?
Yeah, I think, you ask any coach after the first practice, where they're at. I mean, anybody tells you they're confident, then, I don't know. Maybe when you have Shaq and Kobe coming back, maybe that's a confidence. But right now, we're just a work in progress. There is some optimism, though. We feel good about our talent level between experience and new talent. This team has a chance to be really good defensively again because we're tough physically. We have a chance to be tough mentally. We're athletic. We're long. We got some positionless guys. We should be a team that's hard to score against. I think offensively here, we're really excited. We're excited to get on this court and open this floor up and let our best players have a lot of space and play at an offensive pace that we all want to play at. So there's a lot of objectives going on. I think we're all on the same page. It's a team that I'm really enjoying coaching. But I tell you guys, if I'm ever sitting up here after one practice and I'm telling you that I'm not enjoying coaching the team, we're in trouble. So check back with me in 7, 8, 9 days. We'll probably know a lot more. Thanks, guys.
Thanks all.